Everyone knows already Peter Blasina, the gadget guy, and if you didn't know him, he stands out like a lighthouse on the desert. So go for it, Peter.
Of course, we have all the problems you could possibly have with technology, but we've apparently resolved them. Because we persevered, this word will become important shortly, I hope. So what I wanted to talk about was where technology is going. Look, no viruses have been found, isn't that wonderful? Excuse me. Just get rid of that. And I'm going to look at some of the changing technologies. There's little bits that you might recognise from last year because they haven't changed terribly much. But we're going to go on a bit of a journey. I've got to do this quite quickly because Nana gave me half an hour. Is that all? I had a 3-hour presentation. I would never bully you then. You come back in space. But before I do that, you may not have seen this, but I think it typifies. I used to get, I told you last year, I used to get a clip over the year from my mum when I tried to give her a tablet instead of a book. Paper has a great future. You wouldn't think so when they're telling us that the Sydney Morning Herald may not be printed during the week from Easter next year. But this is a cutie. My mum loved it. She said, see, I told you at last. Anyway, I was at an organisation that's changing rapidly, which is libraries. I was in South Australia talking to the public libraries, and I was sitting in the front row, and Todd Sampson, you must be known from the Gruen collections and stuff. It was really quite interesting, and he told the story of actually he talked about fear and creativity and how you become creative when fear is an element, adrenaline is an element. He's climbed to the top of Everest, and somehow he was drawing the comparison of being creative by getting to the top with the fear of falling off the other side. It was a great story, a great motivational speech. And it set me thinking about technology. How do you apply, and I thought of Nan particularly, how do you apply what's happening with technology to a group of seniors? We've grown up outside we haven't been embedded, I guess is the best term to use, with new technology. New technology kind of came along and we had to go and find it. We had to work really hard to understand it. I'm really frustrated with an 8-year-old, and I'm just so frustrated that he can open up any box, any complex device, and just use it. He never ever looks at an instruction manual. And that's just so frustrating. But we haven't grown up embedded in the technology. We don't, sometimes we just don't understand the logic. You kind of have to be, it's kind of got to be in your DNA to understand it. And I find it frustrating. But it started me thinking about what should we do? Because often we give up. I speak to a lot of people that just give up because the technology is just too hard. And perseverance came up. I'll tell you a really quick story. The kid in the orange shirt is my 8-year-old. At the beginning of this year, we discovered his eye-hand-foot coordination didn't exist. He'd go to kick a ball, and the ball would miss it completely. So he wanted to get better because he was going to play soccer. So his older brother, who's 32, and I've got 5 kids altogether, and now I know what causes them. I'm not doing it. So anyway, he decided, and every day after school, Dad, can we go to the park and kick? And eventually he started to connect. And the ball went a metre, went 2 metres, went 3 metres, 5 metres, 10 metres. Eventually he could kick a ball, quite well. And in the meantime, he'd started playing soccer with the Patriot Jets and the under-8s, and they're the worst team of all time. They lost 22-0. They lost 16-0. And they'd all come together and follow the ball around and try and kick it. And I didn't feel so dejected about Quinn's ability to kick a ball. Anyway, kind of long story short, about halfway through the year, the coach asked him to go into goals. So he went into goals, and we discovered he had a great aptitude for actually stopping the ball. And so they lost 6-0. Never won a game the whole season, right? Never won a game, but he persevered with kicking the ball, and he'd become really good. He could kick the ball 40 metres, like almost the length of a little kid's field. Wind ahead to the last game of the year, and we're in the last 2 minutes. The other team puts on another kid that's like a head taller than all the other kids, and blonde hair, looks like he's just stepped out of a movie. He steals the ball away and comes down the field, and the parents, and all winter we've been queuing up on the sideline at Jellicoe Park in the freezing cold. Every Saturday we go back home with our chins stapled to our chests. Never win a game. Even score a goal, just 1 goal. No games won, no goals scored. We're down now into the last minute. This kid breaks away and he kicks the ball and he keeps dribbling down. And the parents go, oh no, everything goes into slow motion. Like, we can see exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have a whole season without winning a game and not scoring 1 goal. So he kicks the ball really hard. Quinn catches it, holds it, and can't believe he's got it. Runs to the front of the goal, kicks the ball, and it goes up in the air, and the ball lands at Tia's feet. Tia's one of the girls on the team, and she looks at it. Where did that come from? So she passes it to Kobe because she doesn't know what to do with it. It's never up her end of the field. And Kobe slams it in. And the parents go nuts. Nuts! They run down, this is with maybe 30 seconds left in the game. They run down, they grab him, put him on their shoulders and carry him back. And that's the kid. You can see he put a lot into it. Most improved player of 2013 and player of the match. But he had to persevere to get there. And that's the thing, often we don't persevere, and I think technology requires us to do that because it's changing so quickly. When I started talking at ASCA conferences, nobody had heard of social media. The 1.2 billion people that are Facebook sign-ups didn't exist. The whole social media, even Twitter. Twitter's only 5 years old. Apparently worth $29 billion now. It'd be nice if they had a business model that goes with it. And 5 years ago the internet was there, but it wasn't as fast-paced. It wasn't delivering the things it delivers today. It was mostly you could get music, peer-to-peer downloads, but you didn't get some of the things that you get now. And this infographic turned up. Some of you might have seen it. It's a minute. It's a 1 minute cutout of what happens on the internet. 1 minute, right? Now, why didn't any of you think of Amazon? Amazon transacts $83,000 a minute. A minute. Scary stuff. 477,000 apps are downloaded if you go to the Play Store and the App Store. I mean, that's 477,000 a minute, every minute. There's been close to 60 billion downloads just from the Apple iTunes Store, the App Store. 60 billion. Oh, this is, the numbers are just staggering. 100,000 tweets a minute. There's no business plans for it. 204 million emails a minute. For all those people who predicted the end of the email, the post office in New Zealand, John Letter in a minute, is now only going to deliver letters 3 days a week. They're looking at 2 days a week. And if you want to get mail delivered by 2016, you'll need a post office box because they're not going to deliver letters. Parcels, on the other hand, they're very happily delivering parcels. We will follow. Post offices around the world will do the same thing. 20 million photo views, 3,000 photos uploaded. YouTube, 30 hours of video. It's now the second biggest search engine in the world. So Google own the biggest, and they own the second biggest. And see the 1.3 million video views. Half of those are my son. 6 million Facebook views, 277,000 logins. Actually, a week ago, we decided that we would put a curfew on access to screens. I mean, that's how serious it's become. We figured in hours he was spending more time looking at a screen at home, whether it was a television screen, an iPhone, a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer monitor, than he was spending at school. We had to bring it back down. He's got 2 hours. If he's got special homework to do, that's fine. He can go and access the content, and he sits in the kitchen and does it as we chat. But you really have to put those limitations in place. Plus, we're seeing hardware change at an astounding rate. It used to be that when Nokia was top of the heap, you would get Nokia doing a launch of a phone every 12, 14, 16 months. Now there is a launch of a new phone every 3 months. It's just unbelievable. And when you think about the hardware differences, that's the processor that's in the latest Samsung Galaxy phone, the S4. It's an octa-core processor. It's got 8 cores in the processor. That is way more than the average family desktop computer had just 2 years ago. Far more processing computing power. I mean, just the sheer processing power. And why do you need all that processing power? Well, because we're starting to see phones with 41 megapixel image sensors. 41 megapixel image sensors. If you go and buy a top-of-the-line SLR camera, if you get 24 million pixels, you're lucky. It's just quite remarkable. And of course, the arrival of tablets, which I'll talk about in more detail in a minute, it has changed everything about what we do, because gestures computing has come in. It was wonderful. Last week I was going back to South Australia to talk to a really exciting conference. It was practice managers for doctors. They were lovely. Not quite up with where the technology is heading, even where the technology was 5 years ago. And so some of the things that I talked about, kind of, what the hell is he talking about? They glassed over. It was interesting. Of course, what you all want to know is what's the next big thing. Now, of course, if I knew what the next big thing was, I would be on the barrier reef with my yacht, and the crew would just be bringing up lunch. Now, of course, Nan offered me lunch, but it's nothing like my crew. As beautiful as Nan is, there's an element there that, but I'm not, I'm here, right? So obviously I don't know what the next big thing is, but there are some trends. And let's look at those trends. Probably the trend that really stands out, the one that you'll grasp at, is that there have been two revolutions. And whenever you get a revolution, you get a huge upheaval that happens. You think about the French Revolution, the revolution in the United States, the Civil War. But we're really going through, or just going through, an information revolution. So let me put this up. This I showed you last time. There's one constant in today's business and consumer environments, and that's the accelerating rate of technological change. I've already referred to that. But it is happening very quickly, very quickly. The change in technology, the accelerating rate of it is hard to hold on to the coattails. Even I have difficulty sometimes with some of the new technology that's coming through. So, and a lot of this is sheeting back to what's happened in the consumer electronics area. It's pretty hard to buy a television today that it doesn't have the smart TV moniker. And the reason it has that is simply it connects to the internet. So I can watch catch-up TV on an LG or a Samsung or a Panasonic. Last week, did you hear Panasonic is closing its last plasma factory? So if you love plasma like I do, it's almost a technology we talked about. Remember the plasmas? That's how quickly it changes. And get this, the first plasma came into Australia a mere 12 years ago. It cost $26,000. It was a 32-inch Fujitsu. Took 4 people to, it was a hang-on-the-wall television, but you had better have a reinforced wall to put it on. But it evolved quite quickly, and it's a beautiful technology, but it can't beat the price and performance of LCD. And now organic light emitting diode televisions. Dan will give you a test on the end of this, so you've got to get all the acronyms right. And of course the whole smart TV revolution, and interesting with this, in consumer electronics, if you've got a new product, you must get a girl in a short skirt to stand next to it. It's not a viable proposition, right? So if the company believes in its product, it's got to have a girl in a short skirt. So gestures have now become part of the whole process, and Samsung worked with the Macquarie University with the linguistics department so that the television would understand up to 300,000 Australian phrases. 300,000 Australian phrases. There was a lot of money that was pumped into this. But interestingly, if you go down to buy a new television at the Christmas sales, that starts on Boxing Day. We can remember when people used to go shopping in December. I spoke to a retailer the other day. I said, "How's business?" He said, "Our business will be fantastic when Christmas starts." And I said, "Oh, what, next week?" And he said, No. Boxing Day, that's when Christmas starts. You know? And he said we shouldn't put any of the Christmas decorations up at all. Because what people are doing now is for Christmas they're giving gift cards. You know, like $50 at Bunnings or $100 at JB Hi-Fi. And then you go and buy when the prices are 10, 20, 30% lower. And so this retailer and I had this argument. He said, you know, bloody consumers are always after the best price. And he said, retailers did it. And we almost came to blows. But this year when you go, it's taken for granted you're going to get a smart TV. The question you'll ask is not what's the resolution of the television, not whether it's an LED, LCD, or it's got a variety of different technologies in it. What you're going to ask is, how much cloud storage do I get with my television? Right? Now, again, who would have thought? And of course, all this is driven by what Nan and I were pushing for a couple of years, high-speed broadband. The good old days when we were all going to get high-speed broadband. But let's not get into the politics of it. But once we do have high-speed broadband in some shape or form, it's going to deliver us the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things are where there are more inanimate objects connected to the Internet than there are humans connected to the Internet. We passed that already quite a while ago. And what's going to happen is that in the next 5 years, you will have at least 10 devices that are connected to the Internet. Now, they could be interesting things like, girl in a short skirt, must be in your fridge. Your fridge. And you might say, why the hell do I want my fridge connected to the Internet? Well, you want to connect to the Internet because it'll be an intelligent fridge. It'll do a couple of things. One is, if something is going to go, like the compressor, it can self-diagnose and get the company, Fisher and Paykel, or a lot of companies that make white goods, will get them to contact you and tell you, look, we can come out this week and fix your fridge before all your food spoils, or you can wait till next week till this component breaks down, and then we'll come and fix it, but all your food will be ruined. So what are you going to do? Your fridge is holding you hostage, right? But the beauty of it is, and all the men in the audience will love this, if you, like me, are sent on shopping trips, the first thing I do is I lose the shopping list. But the fridge, what I can do is, I don't ring my wife who says you're a bloody idiot. What I do is I ping the fridge. The fridge sends a shopping list of all the things that haven't been put back in the fridge, because the fridge is intelligent enough to know if something's taken out and doesn't come back in. Put that on the shopping list, so milk and cheese and eggs and bread and maybe not bread, but there'll be another near-field communication device in the kitchen so that if the bread doesn't go back into the bread cupboard, this of course means that children will have to put things back. Otherwise you will have 50 jars of Vegemite. So I can send an email to the fridge and ask it to send me the shopping list, and I get home, I'm the hero. I got everything in my adult, and except I forgot the toilet paper. Nobody mentioned that. And of course, we're going to drive it into our homes, the Internet of Things into our homes. Actually, can I just make the point about the car? Right now in Europe, and here for that matter, a mid-size Mercedes-Benz, Audi, a reasonable car. It has anywhere from 8 to 12 computers. And right now, when you drive into the dealership, the car connects to a Wi-Fi network, and the car starts downloading information about how it's driven, the temperatures it's driven in, the braking patterns, the acceleration patterns, if it spends X amount of time on highways or stuck in traffic. And the car is tuned based on exactly the information that is garnered from the car. Huge amount of computing power, even in our local produced cars, in Hollands and Fords and Toyotas. There is a huge amount of information. Right now we're not gleaning that information, but in Europe, one of the big selling points is as you drive into the dealership, all this information goes into the system, and the car is customised in its service for your driving patterns, and that apparently makes a huge difference in the longevity of the car. So even your car will be an Internet of Things. But of course, tablets have really changed everything. So let's look at that quickly. Oops. So there's been a communications revolution, and some of you, unfortunately, will remember the beginning of the communication revolution, which predicated the information revolution. I'll define that in a minute. So if you look at the communications revolution, I believe it started back with the Motorola brick. Wow, this was a mobile phone. It wasn't in an attaché case. It wasn't bolted to the chassis of your car. It didn't need a car battery to run. It had a battery, and wow, it was terrific. The battery had 4 hours of life before you had to recharge it. 20 minutes talk time, you had to talk quick. It could get this, you could store 8 phone numbers in it. 8 phone numbers. You have to be standing in the CBD to make it work. Operated between the Opera House and 400 George Street. That was about the limit of it. And it weighed 1.5 kilos. Hence why it's called the brick. But the phone's evolved. It's evolved into a range of smartphones that are just quite remarkable in terms of what they do. And let me tell you, in the next 12 months, you're going to see things that you wouldn't believe you could have in a mobile phone. 5 minutes. So the information revolution, on the other hand, is much more recent. I believe it started with the iPhone, because access to information, the use of gestures, has changed everything about computing. And I'll draw an analogy on where that's going. And in fact, if you look at where things are going, often it's really good to look at what Hollywood is doing, because Hollywood's got it right. I spoke to the engineer that was the lead engineer on the development of the Motorola flip phone. The Americans love flip phones, and I said, look, they're really popular in the States and Japan. Why were they? And he said, look, we were sitting there trying to design a phone. And one of the team walked in and said, hey, did you see Star Trek last night? Did you see Captain Kirk flipped open the communicator? He said, we just stole it. we went and got the tape, watched it, and just designed it straight off Captain Kirk's communicator. So sometimes Hollywood gets it right. So a holographic representation of the computer isn't far away. The ability to do that, and the ability to actually speak to a computer and have it understand what you're saying, boom, is where I want to go. So it was when I was looking at Iron Man 2 that I realised that they were showing what was happening to information. And the information, if you'll see in a moment, the information is in layers, graphical layers, and the ability to actually move around and take the bits and pieces that you need and use the same gestures that you use in an iPad or any tablet. So you want to get rid of something, you just push it away. You want to make something smaller, you make it smaller, like the pinch action, make it bigger. And all your content is there, and you're surrounded by it. You can meld it together or draw it apart. You can do a whole range of things with it. Can you see this one?
It's in the cloud.
The button? It's in the cloud, yeah. So we'll just watch this for the next 5 minutes. Yeah, very much, yeah, because they've got the panels that they're doing, yeah. Is there anyone here from Microsoft? The wonderful company that gave us Vista. Thank you. Yeah, good old Microsoft. But sometimes they get it right. On their facility in Seattle, they have a huge amount of collaborative work going on with a variety of companies, pushing them to use Windows or software that Microsoft develops, but the hardware is somebody else's game. And these are some of the products that they've developed. Here's a screen in a classroom, and 2 students are using it, one's on either side. But then you understand that the screen translates from English to Indian, and the ability to almost in real time, courtesy of high-speed voice, be able to use that. The girl is in the previous one was in Seattle. The boy's in Mumbai. But imagine that you need help. Imagine the ability to have a consultation with a doctor anywhere in the world. You could be anywhere, the doctor could be anywhere. You could have the best cardiologist waiting to find it. This is on a plane. It's a tablet that we're quite familiar with, but it's accessing the plane's information cloud. She'll get her own personal tablet in a moment. The problem with this is Microsoft figures teachers are going to fly business class. So this is her tablet accessing the information cloud. It's going to tell her at which gate the plane is landing, so she can send a message to a colleague to meet her at a particular gate that she's been assigned or a room. surface computing, Microsoft is kind of getting this right. The ability to collaborate on a variety of different things. Now, think about what was happening in Iron Man 2 and what Robert Downey Jr. was doing, and look at what this guy is doing. So this is the computer according to Microsoft in 5 years' time. So highly graphical. Gone is the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor. Everything's in front of you, and it's an extension of the GUI, of the graphical user interface. So, and so this was the relic of the mouse. Is this going to be cooked? So the next step is at the airport. Is that for me? That's all right. This is an interesting two-part phone that Microsoft. One part is information-driven. The other part works as a conventional telephone. So he makes contact with her now that the plane has landed. The information cloud knows where she is and where he is. So he's located. They decide to meet. The room's been allocated. But the best part of all is that now the airport will take him to meet her. And see on the floor, he gets out. Imagine having done at Changi Airport, right? Charles de Gaulle. Like, it's just amazing. You might recognise what she's using. It's called a pen. They used to be very popular, people our age, but they're not available anymore. And then now with the graphical user interface, the ability to share information quickly is available. So we've got one of the colleagues coming in working on video conferencing. This is voice to text that actually works. You don't have to sound like this to make it work. It can pick up intonation and be far more assertive in terms of its ability to translate the way you're talking rather than just the words you're saying. Imagine being able to use biometrics to just share your entire communication history that you've had with someone. And again, everything is graphical. You know, we almost don't need to type anything anymore. So you need to know the temperature of your computer, of your coffee. This is digital paper. You can have your morning paper, video, audio, text. Not that anybody will remember what that was in 5 years' time. I'm glad my mum's not here Well, no, it's like a polymer. It was launched about mid-year by Philips and Microsoft in Europe. It's horrendously expensive at the moment. And the memory, you can't see it there, memory is flexible and built into the spine. So it can be a morning newspaper and then it will transform into an information transport device. I'm going to the CES this year and hopefully I'll be able to bring one of these back. But they are quite expensive at the moment. And transparent tablets are the next big thing. So, and again, I've already seen that technology. And of course, Microsoft figures that when kids go out to play in the afternoon, they have to go up to the 65th floor. I've got to shut up. Okay, I'll do the other half of the other 3/4 of this next year. It'll be an inspiration for me to stay alive so I can come and do this. So thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me to the conference.